Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to put some hands on our doll, and I'm in the design center of my Stellaire sewing machine. And so do you remember when you were in kindergarten and you used to trace out your hand and then make it into a picture as a kid? We're kind of going to do that. I want you to put your hand on a piece of paper and trace it, and then use your app to bring it into your design center as a drawing. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring it in through this button right here on top, and we're going to import it. And if you have a Luminaire or a Dream Machine, you can draw your hand and then scan it using a scanner camera that's in your sewing machine. So there's the picture that I want, and I'm going to set it down. Let's darken it a little bit so I can see it a little bit more. That's a really sad hand. You can see that I've got a little bit of arthritis in my fingers. We're not going to draw that on this hand. But what I want to do is I want to zoom in so I can see where I'm going with this. We're going to put it down here. And I'm going to use this pencil right here because I can pick this up and put it back down again without losing my spot. And then I'm going to tell it to just do it as a running stitch. And then I'm going to say, okay. And we're going to start right here in the corner and draw. And you can see as you start to draw, there's a red line going in. That's where it's going to close. So this is going to close across the bottom when I get to the end. And I can pick up my pencil as many times as I want to as I go around and do this. You can actually trace your hand and then trace it onto freezer paper and iron that freezer paper onto your fabric and then sew around it with your sewing machine. It takes a little bit of work to do it that way because you got to stop and pivot and stop and pivot and stop and pivot. But that's the way I learned how to first do hands, was to cut them out of freezer paper, iron them on the fabric, and then sew around them. But I haven't done that ever since I discovered that I could do it in my embroidery machine by layering the fabric in the hoop, because it does it so fast and so easy. The other thing is that if you draw your own hand on freezer paper and then sew around it, you have to have some way to put it into a printer or something and size it down. And we aren't going to have to do that this way because we're going to be able to size it right here in the design center. And you can see as I'm going around this that I'm not drawing those crazy bumps. Every once in a while it goes too straight of a line, so I just go back and try that again. And I can zoom in really close if I want to get these curves absolutely perfect, which I probably would normally do if I wasn't feeling like I don't want to spend too much time doing this. But you can see that I'm drawing straight lines. Move the box over here. I'm going to do a little bit faster so you can see that it's not going to be perfect, but you get the idea that we're going to go all the way down. Keep moving the red box. Till I get back to where I started. And then it should pretty much close by itself as I get close to it here. Go back. This thing wants to be stubborn. There, now it's closed. And that's okay because I'm going to cut this part off anyway. So let's go all the way back to there's my hand that I've created. And if I want to, I can hit the arrows here and take the picture away so I can see what I drew. And that looks pretty good. So what I want to do is I want to hit the box here, and I want to select this, and then I'm going to size it. And I'm going to size it all the way down. This is a little doll. No matter what doll you make, whether you make a nice big elf doll, which I'm working on Christmas elves right now, or you make it like we're making right now, which is a kind of a little one, you can size this hand just about any size you want it to be. Okay, so I've got two hands here. They look pretty good to me. I'm going to hit next and preview. And then I'm going to set those down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these, I'm going to get my 4x4 hoop out and hoop up a piece of the fabric and then sew these out. In fact, I think I'm going to show you exactly how I do that. So here's my 4x4 hoop, and this is my craft velour that I used when we made the face. And you can see that the stretch is stretchier one way than it is the other way. I want the stretch to go up and down. It does make a difference when you go to turn those little tiny fingers. I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to lay that on the hoop, and then we're going to put this part on there. Let's make sure it fits. No stabilizer. We're just going to basically be sewing these two pieces together. And then when that's in there nice and taut, then I'm going to take a second piece. Now watch, the shiny side is up. This is the fuzzy side. Then I'm going to take this one and I'm going to put the shiny side down. And just lay it across the top. And then we're going to sew the fingers, the hands, right inside that hoop. And I'll show you what they look like when they're all finished and cut out. So here's my hands. I went ahead and cut them out. You want to make sure that you cut all the way down to the stitching between each finger. Otherwise, you're going to have little puckers in when you turn your fingers inside out. That's very important. Use a nice sharp pair of little tiny scissors and get very close, and then kind of trim around each one of the fingers. And then on the bottom here, there was some stitching, remember, that we did across that closed it, but I cut it open. So then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and turn these inside out. So to turn these inside out, you need a hemostat. And those of you in the medical field know what a hemostat is. A lot of times in the sewing industry, they call it a needle puller. They just have kind of like a plier tip fingers, and they lock when you close them. And you can find them on some doll sites and pick them up in some sewing stores. But you really need a good pair that you can grip pretty tight with. And I'm going to take this little tiny hand like this that I have, and I'm going to put the hemostat inside the end of the hand and all the way up to the end of the finger. And then I'm going to open them a little bit so that I can take my fingernail and push the tip of that finger in there and then lock it with with the lock that's on the bottom. Then I'm going to take my fingers and very gently hold it on the end and just kind of twist back and forth and push up like this. And sometimes that happens. Let me see if I'm going to go into another finger here. Lock that. And just very gently start to pull. And you can see that it's going in. And then I'm going to do this one here. Same thing. I'm going to push the tip of the finger in with my fingernail, lock it so it's got a good grip on it. And then just very slowly twist and push and twist and push till I get all the fingers in there. I think what was wrong with this one here is I've got a little bit of extra fabric right here on the end, and I can cut that off. I'm going to use a pair of scissors here. I can cut that little bit of extra fabric that I don't want off of there. And then I think if I put this back in here, open it up as wide as it'll go because it's a little tight fit, and then push with your finger and lock that little bit of fabric in there and then pull. See the way it just went right in there. So I have another one here that I've turned completely inside out. And there's my hand. And what I want to do is I want to take a piece of a pipe cleaner. These, this is what they used to call them, pipe cleaners. I guess a lot of times people call them fuzzy sticks nowadays. And I've cut them into little pieces using some wire cutters. And I turn the edge of it because after you cut it with the wire clippers, they can be a little sharp. And they'll try and turn it and push on it with my fingers. Then I'm going to put it into the hand, find a finger, and just very gently push it till it goes all the way to the edge of that finger. And then here's another one. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take it, fold it like that, and push it till it goes all the way to the edge. And you want to use different pieces. Don't try and use one. I had a student a long time ago who tried to just fold them, put them all in one piece. That's not going to work. You got to have a little bit of it sticking out through the bottom of the hand like that. I'll fold that edge, put it in here. And this is probably the most time-consuming part of making a doll, but I've been doing this for probably 20 years, and I really think once you get the hang of turning those little fingers, you're much happier with your doll. It comes out so cute with these little hands. I'm going to do each one of these fingers separately. And then the thumb goes up inside, basically the same thing. You're going to put it right there like that. And I got one more finger here to go. And I'm going to go up in here and push. And I got all 5 of my fingers with pipe cleaners in it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my hemostat. I'm going to use a very little tiny bit of stuffing. I don't want a whole bunch of stuffing here. I'm going to hold on to it with the hemostat and put it into one side of this hand. Not both sides, just one side. And just stuff it up inside that hand. Push a little bit into the thumb here. Okay, so the reason why you do that is, let's look at our own hand. It's puffy on one side, but it's kind of bony on the other side. You don't want puffiness on both sides. It's not going to look like a real hand. I could probably just a little, don't be in a hurry and grab a big wad. Just a little tiny wad, and I'm going to try and put just a little bit more in that hand there. And then, see, if I turn it the other way, I can almost see the pipe cleaners on this side. And watch, I'm going to turn it and I'm going to push down really hard with my fingers. And then when I open it back up again, I've got little bumps going across the back that kind of look like her knuckles. And that's my hand. And I'm going to cut these extra pipe cleaners that are right here. I'm just going to cut them off. I can use a pair of wire clippers. Don't use your good scissors to do this. And then sew it up and slide it on the end of the wire of your doll. Here's her hands on the end of her arms where we put the buttons and everything, and you can see they're very bendable, so I can do a lot of different things with her fingers and everything. And she's holding a seam ripper right now. So there's the hands, and now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to just add a little bit of embellishment to her. So let's go ahead and finish up our doll with a few embellishments and put her skirt on her, which I haven't done yet. This is just a rectangle of fabric that I've taken and folded in half and did a stitch down the side, and then went ahead and hemmed it up by just rolling it up and stitching it, doing a top stitch on it. So I'm going to turn it inside out. And I needed to make this just big enough to slide up over the doll's hips. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do an in and out stitch across the top and pull it up kind of the same way we did the face, slip it up over her hips and draw it in and sew it. And then you can see I already did it on this one. And then I took a piece of velvet ribbon that I had in my stash and wrapped it around her waist and turned it around and glued it right across here. And today I'm using the Beacon 3-in-1. I've mentioned before I really like this glue. It's very, very thick. It glues fast. It's almost like a hot glue gun without having to deal with the heat. So I just put a little drop there, pulled it over, put a pin in it, and it dried really fast. And it's going to hold her skirt in place and cover up any of the uglies that I don't want to be on there. So then the next thing that I did was I made a little apron. And I actually created this apron the same way that I created some of the applique stitches that we did on some of our previous projects. So if you want to know how to do an applique in your Dream Machine or your Luminaire, Stellaire sewing machine, go back and look at one of the other videos. But that's basically how I did it. And then I cut it out, just cutting it really close to the satin stitching. I added a little pocket. I added some different decorative stitches. The embellishments on here are from a package of buttons that I bought at a craft store, and again used the 3-in-1 glue to glue it on there, put a couple pins in there, and sewed some ribbon on it. And then I'm going to just take it and put it on my doll and pull it around and tie it in place. I think across the top here I'm going to just pull it back and glue that on there because the apron's never going to be taken off. And then she'll be all finished. This is one of those things where you just kind of use your imagination, have some fun with it, decide what you want your baby to look like when she's all finished, and she'll make a really nice gift. And I want to show you some of my other ones because I got a little carried away and made a whole bunch of these. So let me do that. Okay, so you can see that I made 4 of these, and who knows where I'll go from there. I'll probably make a couple of it more. Some of them have bobbins on their legs. Some of them have the eyelets on the legs. I changed the hair with a couple of different ones. I just tried to have a lot of fun with them. They're going to be Christmas presents, and I think it was a very successful project. I hope you enjoyed making them. I do want to make a little bit of a comment. A lot of my viewers are my customers from Rocky Mountain Sewing and Vacuum, and I wanted to let you know that I'm going to do a class on how to use your brother's sewing machine. It's really difficult in this period of time that we're living through right now to get in to take a class. So if you'd like, you can come in and you can watch me do basically a video on the brother class, how to use the straight stitch, the zigzag, the blind hem, the buttonhole, all the different buttons on your sewing machine. Hope to see you next week. If you're really enjoying these projects, please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you later. Bye.